you're good to go.
Okay, I called to order the meeting of the PZC Regulatory Review Committee, March 17th, St. Pat's Day, 2022, 10 a.m. in the morning. And members present are Aho, Ward, and Cooley. We have some minutes from March 3rd.
I'll abstain
Okay,
or disqualified or whatever you want to say.
okay.
I can put a motion forward to accept the minutes as written.
Okay, moved by Cooley, accepted by Aho. So minutes pass. I assume there's no public comment, Linda?
Nope.
Okay, so we can get right to the draft community survey.
Yes, so with your extension of the cannabis moratorium, I think everybody wants to move quickly. We're definitely getting, I've had a couple of calls from people who are interested. So just trying to figure out how best to do this. The request that we had, I believe from the mayor and the deputy mayor to the town manager was that before we draft regulations, we get community input on what people want to see. And the difficulty is this is a very technical issue. So Jen went through the survey and was like, this is really like, how can we simplify this? I'm like, well, that's why we're going to have a meeting to discuss it before we send it out and figure out how we want to broadcast this. To get some feedback. So the survey itself is based on kind of where you have evolved to. So it does essentially, and I can pull this up on the screen, essentially kind of start out with saying at this time you're proposing to prohibit cultivation and production so that there's no ambiguity there.
I would suggest putting that in bold or a different color,
Okay.
Just the word prohibit cultivation and production.
Okay.
Just so it stands out. Because it'll be a big waste of somebody's time to have to go through all the surveys and read all the comments about, I don't think we should be growing this in town.
Well, and we're saying right now, because you haven't ruled it out as permanently, but it's like for now. So we are asking people what their opinion is on that.
And it's an uninformed opinion because so many people have not been where they're growing it, know what they do to mitigate the odors or not. And is there any movement on the court case for agabiotics?
Well, I can brief you on that separately.
Okay, but that's
It's
idea
and
to that
just
too.
to be clear, they're not proposing to grow cannabis or marijuana.
That's true, but in general, it's okay. I got it.
So we'll kind of highlight proposing to prohibit so that we kind of take that fear off the table. We do note that you're considering sales, product manufacturing, packaging, delivery services, laboratories. And I will say Jennifer and I had a very entertaining conversation where she asked me what types of products there might be. And I was like, I don't know. And like after about 10 minutes of going back and forth, Sandy popped in and went, you two really need to find someone who knows more about cannabis. We are not subject matter experts in any sense of, I was like, I don't know, brownies. Someone did tell me there's seltzer now. There's cannabis seltzer.
I think there's everything like soap,
gummies. Yeah. So we start with kind of, and we also, and I did bold this, I might put it in another color, was to say that while we can regulate or we can prohibit and say, you know what, we're not going to allow sale here. I think the one thing we really have to do is be very clear that if someone lives in Mansfield and wants to have cannabis, they want to purchase cannabis and have it delivered to them, they have every right to do so. And there's absolutely nothing we can do. Mm-hmm. And I know, I think that actually, from some of the committees changed some opinions where they were like, well, if it's going to be here anyway, we might as well, see if there are some benefits to us from having it.
Yep.
So
the first question, Is it,
Yep.
is it legal for sale anywhere in Connecticut right now? Because honestly, I haven't really been following this. So could
No, I
someone
think
right
I
now-
think that they're starting to accept licenses, which is why I think we had at least one
Okay.
person in Mansfield that wasn't happy that we have the moratorium still. So
Right, right.
they're in that process.
Okay,
But as I said, I have had a couple of people reach out to me that are interested, and so we'll, they're waiting to see what happens with this.
Mhm.
So the first thing that we did, and this is where we try like this, and this is the tough thing, is the first question is, okay, how do you feel in general about these different types of cannabis or marijuana? We tried to put marijuana, like Jen's like, can we change cannabis to marijuana? I'm like, I don't know. Like it's what people are going to understand. We use both terms, again, we're not proposing, but we did. And if you tell me to take this question out, I can, but I thought it was worth asking, do people want to prohibit?
Can we make it
Cultivation.
simpler? Can we make it simpler by taking out the parentheses? I mean, cannabis is cannabis, however you use it.
Yep.
and I would put that question last. Because
Okay.
right above you say, we're proposing to prohibit it, and then you're saying, but what do you think? You
Okay.
know?
Yeah, exactly.
So, you can put it in there, but I'd put it at the end. So that, which implies
Yeah.
that it's, okay, we'll ask it, but we've already sort of come to an informed decision that this wouldn't be a good idea.
I mean, we could take that out and just kind of leave it and say, we're, and then we do ask at the end of the survey if there's any other comments people want to offer. So if somebody's like, if they feel really strongly about production, then I'm assuming we'll get,
Yeah,
or
I think
we can
that's
just move it
that's
to
a
the
little
end of the
confusing to
list.
say we're not having production and then ask if we want production.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
I think
All right.
let's just take that out completely and concentrate on the sales this time. This
Yep.
this survey is for sales. Maybe in the future we'll have a survey about production.
Okay.
This survey is sales. And I think
I
overall, I think that the simpler we can make the survey, the better.
Okay.
I just feel that the survey, I don't know who will fill it out, but I have a feeling that the majority of Mansfield voters who would read this and fill it out probably have no idea what they're talking
But
about.
we do have to ask them.
But I
This-
mean,
this
we
is a
need
step we
to,
have to do.
I wondered about informing them before you did the survey. I mean, how about a public hearing again on this to inform the public and then ask for a survey?
Well,
Or is that waste of time because nobody comes? I don't know.
I hear what you're saying, but I'm not sure that we really reach that more people with that, if that makes any sense.
I think
You're
you're
right.
probably,
And I think that this is sort of a first step. This is an easy way to reach a lot of people. I mean, even if they don't return it, people will see it and know that this is something that is happening. And I think, you'll get more interest and more questions just from the survey than you would if you just put it up for a public hearing and saying, well, we're thinking about this without having a concrete plan and a reason why.
The
you
number
have a
one
concrete plan.
complaint people have is that they don't have input. I think this is where we
Yep.
say, okay, let's get your input right now.
Yeah, well,
So-
and the public hearing is also input, right? So that's two
Yeah, that's input
opportunities.
too. But yeah,
So I think one of the things, Vera, because what I'm hearing is like, and this is what Jen and I struggled with, is how do you kind of make this easy for people to understand, as well as provide information, because this is a 300-page bill. It is not it's not
Yeah.
easy to decipher. There's a lot of legality in it. So we do have a webpage on cannabis, which has a couple of resources that were developed by other communities. And we can actually put those links in here that says, you may want to read these publications that kind of give a high level overview before you fill the survey out. So that
think
we're
that's a good
kind of
idea.
hitting that education piece. I don't know if they will, but does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, I think that's a good
Um,
idea.
I could put in the definitions, like I tried to kind of describe what they are, but it's like, it's so technical. So let me
Yeah.
see if I can.
we can direct them to the website. Oh, you have it. Additional information available.
Mhm.
right.
And you link to the act too. Is that a live link, actually?
It is a live link. Yep.
There's usually, I'll see if I can find it, but usually not just the statutory language, but there's usually a, like the Office of Legislative Research does sort of a summary in plain text of the Bill.
That would be
I don't,
helpful.
there should be one with that. I can look it up and see if I can find it. That might be also a good link.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It's usually just a shorter summary that just goes over them. Let me see if I can find it.
Okay. All right, so we're going to take out the cultivation and production and just focus on these other,
On the sale and yeah.
on the sale, packaging, manufacturing.
Now, to make it simpler, can we combine manufacturing? We'll get two different kinds of manufacturing is manufacturing.
Yeah,
Why don't
I
we
just, I
combine-
had it separated because they are they're separated in the statute, but I can
Yeah,
combine
yeah.
it and just say,
I think it just makes it easier. Okay, we got sale, manufacturing. In fact, we could even say manufacturing and packaging, although those could be two separate things, right?
I don't understand that. I would think you have to package what you manufacture.
I'm gonna combine it for ease, because I think you're right, Paul, like
Yeah,
it's,
The easier,
they're
the
three
better.
separate things in the statute, but we'll combine them.
Either you're for it or against it. I don't think that fine tooth thing makes any difference. Delivery service, now that is separate, because you could
Yep.
not have the manufacturing and have the deliveries.
Yep.
And you
So you
do
basically end up with sale, two types of sale,
two types of sale, one manufacturing, packaging,
Manufacturing.
one delivery,
and laboratory.
and one laboratory. Yeah.
And
then
that will
that'll make-
also shorten the rest of the survey,
Right,
because then we can eliminate questions. So what we tried to do here was,
I thought
And
that's
I'm
well
not-
done. That's well done. That's a nice
this works for you?
page. Yeah,
Okay. So
think
we'll,
it's
what
pretty
will
easy to
happen
understand.
is the same combination that we do up there is this will, so we have medical marijuana, adult use recreational, and you can say none of the above. So
Mhm.
these are all based on what you've identified.
Right. And then all manufacturing and packaging.
All manufacturing and packaging will go into one, so that will eliminate a bunch of questions, like
Right.
a couple of pages there. Delivery service, and then the laboratory.
Right.
Any other locations, so they can kind of say, oh, I think you should consider it here. So we're asking them what they think of the areas you've identified. They can then come in and suggest something else.
Mhm.
And then what we've given them is the ability to say, and again, we'll combine them here, but to say, okay, what should be the process? Should this be something that just gets done by staff? Should it be something that is a site plan with no hearing? You can require a public hearing for a site plan, or, where you now have the special permit where you have more discretion. And if I could figure out how to add, I may add a sentence at the beginning that says, it goes from least amount of discretion to highest amount of discretion as you move from left to right.
That's sort of getting into the weeds. Some people are not going to understand that. But I think, yeah, it would be good to put less to more
Yep.
discretion. That would help people
I
understand.
mean, the other way that I could do this would be to change this. There may be a way for me to kind of do like a sliding scale without saying zoning permit or special permit, and just go, no discretion, it's approved or denied, case by case, where do you want to fall on this? And should there be do you want public hearings? And that may be another way to ask this to simplify.
Yeah, it could be staff, public hearing, or yeah, move it back again so I can see that. So it could be permit issued by staff, site plan approval, no public hearing, site plan approval with public hearing. Do we need special permit? I guess, yeah.
That's actually what most of them I think are going to be.
Most of them are gonna
would
be
be my
special permit.
guess.
Okay. So maybe we should just have issued
want me
by
to-
staff or a special permit. I mean, we're not even contemplating having a site plan approval, are we?
You might be for
some areas.
some areas.
Okay, yeah,
So, and for some uses. So for example, I don't think you are for sales. So for sales, zoning permit, honestly, it's not even an option.
Yeah.
So I may have to rework this a little bit. I think certain things like Well, let me ask this question. Do you foresee on any of these a situation where you would want staff to issue a permit?
My
No.
answer is no.
Yeah, let's
So
just,
then we
let's
can
just
take that off
eliminate
the
that
table.
option. Yeah, that'll make it simpler. Eliminate
And then
that
it can
option.
just be, a site plan, which is, no discretion, you don't really have a lot of discretion in a site plan. It meets the requirements or it doesn't. There may be a public hearing, but then you have the special permit.
Yeah, that makes it
So,
easier.
and do you see, let me start with this. Do you actually see, we may be able to limit this question. Do you see a case where you would want to do a site plan approval for any of these uses? And again, I'm going to take this, the sales is going to be special permit. It just has to be by statute.
What about having the choice between a site plan with a public hearing or a special permit? Those two.
I think this is such a new use. Why can't we start out more stringently than we'll end up in the end? Jen pointed out one meeting that there are liquor stores all over the place. And that's true. And I suppose this falls in that same kind of usage, but since it's so new, I would want to regulate it to the utmost.
Like a special permit, special
So
permit.
then I think that we can just delete question 10 and we can just say, we're going to propose a special permit for all of these establishments.
Not sure people understand what that entails.
Yeah. I think at first it's like any of these things, we're going to have to err on the side of really having a special permit. But I think the more I don't think anyone really knows what a special permit. So if we can
Right.
dumb down, make the language a little bit more accessible.
Yeah, I would go along with that. Just everything at the beginning, everything's going to be a special permit.
Okay.
Well, and as far as liquor stores go, we didn't even allow them. We were dry for a long time. And then we slowly allowed a few in.
I think
begrudgingly.
I think my point was that the districts that they should be located should be similar to liquor stores, but I still think at first we need a special permit just so that people.
Do you agree with that, Luann?
Yeah, I
Okay,
agree.
let's do a special permit for everything, especially at the beginning here.
All right.
And
So
we'll
delete
confuse a
question
lot fewer
10.
people by not having question 10.
Yeah. And then we have question 11. So this is, are there certain conditions that people want to see attached to this? So, and these are based on what we can do in statute. So minimum separation distance from schools and childcare, houses of worship, other religious institutions, charitable institutions, hospitals. I did not include veterans homes and military because I don't think we have those. So I have to add what we don't have.
What would be a charitable institution?
That one's harder for me because in theory that could be like a nonprofit.
I think we can eliminate that.
Okay.
Yeah. I could see the churches and the schools. Do we have any hospitals? Would it make any difference? I don't think it makes any difference. I'd take the hospital out.
And then
we could get rid of two
signage.
questions. With the signage.
I don't know about the hospital. I don't know about the hospital. They deal with addiction. They know, I wouldn't put it in proximity to Natchog.
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah.
And then, so day and hour restrictions, what you talked about is alcohol, same as for alcohol sales. When you can sell alcohol is when you can,
I can't imagine that we would be more lenient than that.
Yeah.
So I don't even see the point to that because.
Well, I think that's what you've proposed is that's what you would do. So that's kind of your proposal. So we'll see if people agree with that. I would.
And then what does signage mean all by itself there?
Signage, this is something you can regulate. but it's really, to me, it's listed in the statute and I struggle with, well, what does that mean? Are we going to assign a different sign area? Because we can't regulate content. I can't tell you what you can put on your sign.
I think it's the
You
same
know.
sign as any other business.
Okay.
Yeah, let's take that one out.
So basically we're gonna get, I think we'll get input on the separation distances and how important people think those are.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yep.
Good.
And then,
And any other comments?
yeah,
Good.
other conditions, and then any other comments that they want to share. So that's like the generic comment.
Good.
So I can make some edits and send this out to you to look at again, or we can look at it in 2 weeks, however you prefer to do it.
Why don't you send it out to us and we'll just return comments.
Okay.
We should get this going as fast as possible.
All right. So that is the only thing that I had on your agenda, because I figured I just wanted to get this moving and it's been behind some other things.
So
Okay.
what's the update on Agbotics?
Well, I typically don't like to discuss litigation in public meetings. So if you'd like, we can schedule an executive session at some point for the full commission.
Okay. All right.
I think it would be interesting to see if there is what's going on with that.
Okay.
We could do an executive session at one of our regular PZC meetings. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll talk to Kevin because I'd like to have him there. Because he, quite frankly, we get updates in our monthly meetings, but he obviously knows more than we do. We do have I can say, and I'm pretty sure it's public record, that they have filed their brief. And so that right now we're in the time frame for the town to respond and the applicant to respond.
We have an in-person meeting on Monday, right?
You have an in-person meeting on Monday.
6 o'clock. It'll be
So,
light out. That's good.
and we're looking, I know that there's interest in hybrid meetings. I think that's going to be it's something that the commission may want to put a budget request in for, because it would take 2 people that are not us. If you
Mhm.
watch the council meeting, they have a dedicated person to run the Zoom meeting and they have a dedicated person to run the booth. And that's just something that we are very leery of taking on at a staff level.
Well, if they have a
given what you guys
dedicated
do.
person, we should have a dedicated person too.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
We're just as important as they are.
well, that's why I'm telling you, I have emailed the town manager to say, hey, there's an interest in this. I'm going to try and talk to IT to understand how much the booth person costs. I don't know how much it would be. We'd have to find somebody else to do the Zoom meeting. But we'll see.
Okay,
Right.
very good. And our next meeting is April 7th.
Yep.
April 7th.
I did find the summary, our summary of the cannabis bill. It took me a bit, sorry.
Okay.
But
Good.
it's still 127 pages, so I don't know if it's that useful.
The
It is
summary.
searchable, though.
Well, we can throw it in. Someone wants
Yeah,
to read it.
I put it in the chat.
Okay.
What is our schedule? I don't have a calendar. Is it the first and third Thursdays?
Yes, I believe.
Okay.
Yes, yep.
Very good. Well,
All
we are
right.
adjourned at 10:24.
Very good.
See you on
Thank you.
Monday.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.